still pending when Lee was gunned down, an admitted member of the sprawling 3G gang, named for their connection to the neighborhood around 3rd and Galvez. Lee was scheduled to appear in court on August 15th in each of those 3 open cases, but whoever was gunning for him made sure he would not be around to answer to the charges.
Jamal Smith, a.k.a. Maul, a.k.a. Sicko, born in 1988, was raised in Uptown, New Orleans. Maul was a beast out here in these streets, beefing with the Magnolia, the Fisher, and Gertown. His most notorious beef would be with 3G. This rivalry dates back as far as June 2006, when Arsenal and Markey, the brothers of Narkey Hunter, were crushed in what we now know today as the Central City Massacre. It is alleged that Maul would crush AP off of 3G, adding fuel to the flames that were already lit. In 2007, Arthur Dow, the older brother of Kareem Dow and Emmett Allen, will be deleted on 2nd and South Miro, allegedly at the hands of 3G. It is alleged that in 2011, Narkey Hunter, Terrius T. Red Oney, Tyrone T-Bone Knockham, and Charles Anderson would spin the bin on Emmett Allen, injuring him and taking the life of young Kiara Holmes. Emmett would be crept down on by 2 whips. Gunfire would erupt in the 3300 block of Rattle. The cars would speed off, leaving both victims. Tyrone Knockham would later be charged with the crime.
We're here tonight because little Kiara Holmes' life was taken senselessly 2 days ago on Arado Street at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. In that same shooting, 19-year-old Emmett Allen was severely wounded and he's still listed in critical condition. I can tell you now that 23-year-old Narkey Hunter, who we believe is one of the gunmen who opened fire on Arado Street Sunday, is in the custody of the NOPD and has been so since earlier today. Hunter was picked up by members of the U.S. Marshals Task Force this morning at a house on Wright Avenue in Terrytown. I can also tell you now that 26-year-old Charles Anderson, who was killed yesterday in the 2300 block of North Robinson, is believed to have been another person of interest in this shooting on Sunday.
It wouldn't be long after the Callio gunfire that Charles Anderson would be found deleted inside of a home in the St. Roch 8th Ward neighborhood of New Orleans.
Very frightening situation that I'm getting very tired of.
Shooting in New Orleans. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Sharice Gibson.
And I'm Katie Moore. It happened in the St. Roch neighborhood.
Paralyzed by crime. That's how people living in the St. Roch community say they feel about their neighborhood.
We're following 2 breaking news stories this morning. The first is in New Orleans. One man is in the hospital after a shooting in the St. Roch neighborhood.
It's also investigating a separate shooting that took place just hours earlier. NOPD says this incident happened in the St. Roch area.
Then in the St. Roch neighborhood, police said someone shot another man.
At 6:05, we're following some breaking news. A man is dead after being shot in the St. Roch area.
With the game soaked up from his big homies on failure, Maul by this time had earned his stripes, and the whole city knew that he wasn't to be played with. In August of 2012, Kareem Dow will be hit up 20 times, losing his left leg. He would now be wheelchair bound. This would not be the last time that Kareem would be hit up. In 2016, he would be hit up 3 different times.
Take it all!
When you want junk to disappear, all you have to do is point.
The beef had spiraled out of control. Maul would stand tall in the paint, putting in work, and would seem untouchable. Arnold Learson and Nathan McCrae, known 3G affiliates, will be the next targets. In September of 2016, they will be caught slipping on 1st and Claiborne. This, unfortunately, would take the life of Ernest McKnight, an innocent bystander.
Ms. McKnight was an innocent bystander who was cut down by gunfire.
But what about the intended targets? We have new details about their suspected ties to a notorious street gang. Paul Murphy joins us now with that story. Paul.
Karen Ton, police now want to know if Sunday's shooting is part of a resurgence in gang-related violence in the city. While the NOPD searches for suspects in the case, friends of the murder victim are mourning his loss. The 63-year-old man killed in Sunday's mass shooting near First and Claiborne was a hardworking landscaper and well-liked neighbor on Rex Place in Central City. The woman next door said he loved to work in the garden in front of his house.
We would have a conversation every morning. He'd ask me how I was doing different things. He helped me to cut some of the grass across the street.
Ernest McKnight had just walked down the street to buy a pack of cigarettes at the corner grocery store when shots rang out. A bullet hit him in the head, and he later died at University Medical Center. McKnight's other next-door neighbor said, unfortunately, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I had heard about the shooting, but I didn't know that he got hit until the next morning. And that just hurt me deeply.
Meanwhile, the New Orleans Advocate is quoting a law enforcement source that claims the two intended targets of the shooting, Arnold Learson and Nathan McCrae, are members of 3G, a notoriously violent gang that once controlled the drug trade in the neighborhood near 3rd and Galvez in Central City. 19 of its members were convicted and sent to jail in a massive state racketeering case. WWL-TV crime analyst Jeff Asher.
It's hard to say whether or not this shooting in Central City is part of a larger trend or it's just a single incident with two individuals that were tied to a gang.
With the mass shooting still fresh in their minds, neighbors know what a surge in gang violence could mean for their quality of life.
I'm worried about my family. Me and my baby could have been walking around there going to the store at that time, and it could have been us.
Hungry to retaliate, in December of 2016, Jeremiah Lee, a.k.a. Zipper, would crush Kareem Dow on St. Andrew Street. It wouldn't be long before the get back would happen. Zipper would be hit up in the 2400 block of South 30 in January of 2017. Wanting Maul badly, they would catch him in front of the courthouse. The doors on the minivan that they were driving would fly open. McCoy and T-Red would jump out. Both guns would be on safety and not fire. The female with Maul would flee from the vehicle. Rat would start dumping shots into the whip. T-Red would unjam his strap and join in on the firing. 3G would rub the shooting into the face of their rivals by having T-shirts made of the victim. To the surprise of the 39ers, Maul would survive this attack. It wouldn't be long after the attack that both 3G and the 39ers would be indicted.
One day after the WDSU team broke the story about another sweeping gang indictment in just over a month, the district attorney and the NOPD are speaking out.
Last month, 15 members of the One Tenors gang were charged in a racketeering indictment involving guns, drugs, and murder. Today, similar charges against 20 men with the 3NG gang, also based uptown. 2 men are still on the run, however, Kentrell Hickerson and Kevin Lynch. WDSU anchor Rachel Wolf tells us more about the DA's plans and what public defenders are saying about the case.
We will use every weapon in our arsenal to bring them to justice.
Orleans Parish District Attorney Leon Canizero was firm as he described a 30-count racketeering indictment against 20 men in the 3G gang. He says the group conspired to distribute illegal drugs and used violence to gain and maintain control over the area where it operated near 3rd Street and South Galvez.
They don't show any breaks to the people of this community. We're going to give them no breaks either.
Authorities say the 3G gang is responsible for at least 10 murders in the last 5 years.
At the ruthless, reckless, cowardly behavior of these gangs, the people of New Orleans has said enough is enough.
This indictment is the 4th indictment stemming from the multi-agency gang unit.
While these cases are more difficult to investigate and prosecute, it allows us to present the whole story to the jury so that they can see the consequences of a pattern of activity rather than looking at a single crime.
Getting these cases to court could prove complex.